Hello. Beep, beep, beep. Buy me a coffee. Become a warrior teacher. Subscribe. Send me a super thanks. Anything to help pay for the decorations of the office. Where's my plaster? You should be here at some point. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Okay, right, so is it me or is the Critic getting a look in lately? They've had some good stuff going down on the Critic, and if you go and have a look. Go and have a look. Got it in the Dubras, as usual, for you to have a look at. But this is an interesting one, right? This is about how the cops got woke. Okay, so yeah. Written by Charlie Peters. Thanks, Charlie. It's a great article. I love it. So, the cops got woke. How did they get woke? There's some interesting stuff to discuss in here. So let's crack straight on without messing about. One photo that elegantly encapsulates the appalling decline of British institutions is surely the Greater Manchester Police Gay Bee. Now, if you've never seen a policeman dressed as a bee, oh my God, a policeman dressed as a bee. It's like the fuzz needs to buzz off. Right. The rainbow-coloured bumblebee outfit worn by a police officer on a Pride March in Bolton in 2018 attracted ire from the public amidst the force's many failures to deal with rocketing crime rates. Sadly, Greater Manchester Police's Gay Bee did not buzz about in isolation. He has been joined by countless officers taking part in Pride marches, adorning their uniforms in rainbow designs. Even response cars were getting an LGBT-friendly lick of paint. And it all seemed like a good idea at the time. Talk about retrospect, eh? Talk about retrospect, Charlie. It all seemed a good idea at the time. It's not just the sexual politics that the police have been slammed for adopting. In 2020, a few incidents disturbed me more than the sight of police officers kneeling in front of protesters in central London as they defaced Churchill's statue on BLM marches. Why is the state afraid of this mob? Build a big prison. Right? Otherwise they're going to grow in power. Build a big prison. Most recently, the police have idly stood by as far-left environmentalists have grafted to grind our economy to a halt, sticking their bums to the Mona Lisa or whatever it is they did. When they have often been more active, they have often starry night. I don't know why I thought of that. Paint your pictures blue and grey, or in this case, purple and pink, blue and pink, and purple, blue, pink, and just various bits. Nonsense. They spray things and stick stuff up people. I don't know. They're all mad. In fact, I think I'm going mad. The embarrassing sprite. So, more recently, the police have idly stood by as far-left environmentalists have grafted to grind our economy to a halt. When they have been more active, they have often used their powers to clamp down on the wrong ideas, such as arresting people for silently praying or for tweeting about transgenderism. We saw what happened in Birmingham with the Let Women Speak conference in the recent past. Where were they? They knew what was coming. They chose not to. They knew what was coming. The embarrassing spectacle of political campaigns being co-opted by the police was recently, and briefly, covered by a minister when Home Secretary Suella Braverman sent out her plans for common sense policing. Speaking at the launch of an interesting new think tank called the Public Safety Foundation, Braverman took a swipe at politically motivated constables, detailing her opposition to officers handing out cups of tea to eco-maniacs who had glued themselves to motorways or police chiefs spending precious resources on divisive critical race theory training. Now, they're talking about Manchester Police from 2018. I want to make this point because it strikes me, from what I've read and the people I know who know this man, that the new bod in charge of Manchester Police he's all right. Old cove, yeah, my age. But he knows his stuff and he's been around a while. And my betting is you'll see none of this bullshit in August. None of it. But we'll see. We'll see whether he stays true to his promise. No more rainbow laces. Former police officer Harry Miller, of course, who I met, a wonderfully jovial fellow, Harry Miller was one of those selected to question the Home Secretary after her speech. Miller, himself a former police officer, has achieved some prominence after a series of victories on police overreach, particularly regarding freedom of speech after he was investigated for his gender-critical views. He asked Braverman if she could define what it means to be political and why it's important for the police to stay out of anything that is political. Braverman's response cut to the heart of the politics and policing crisis. She said, what is political? Contested issues. Issues where is legitimate debate and where freedom of expression and lawful exchange of views should not only be allowed, but actually encouraged. The Home Secretary gave two examples of contested areas where the police had taken a side: critical race theory and gender critical issues. On these fronts she was clear the police should not be getting involved in that. The problem for Braverman's position is that adherents of these political positions do not believe that they are contested. For them, these beliefs are written in the codex of the universe. This is the ideologues, right? That's how ideology gets you, okay? They believe that they're right. Well, they're not. None of it's right. It's all madness. They are natural laws, they are human rights, they are about existence, and their defenders are exhausted about explaining them to lay people who haven't adopted the latest update to the far left's credo. If you want to spot it, it'll be about power and oppression. That's their tool. That's the crowbar. Well, the power and the oppression of my victimhood. Blah, 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 blah. You know, victims everywhere. That's what it is, right? You want to spot it? If that's what it's coming from, when you're talking to somebody about policy, if that's where it's coming from, that's it. That's the point at which you go, no. Thanks so much for bringing that to us, but we're not doing it because we don't do victim oppression narratives. What we do is, how can we improve the person's lot and what competences does that person require to help themselves? Not hard, right? The framing has been a masterstroke by the left. By defining any discussion of their beliefs as controversial, they have automatically put conservative or reactionary forces on the back foot before they even do anything. For these activists who control powerful office in the civil service and sadly policing, deporting foreign criminals is political and brandishing the trans flag on a police car is simply the right thing to do. Isn't it extraordinary? Isn't it extraordinary that we're in this situation? Crippled by austerity and mired in controversy after many of their workforce keep being arrested for rape and murder, it's fair to say that the Metropolitan Police are having a tough time. The fury that the police are subject to amidst their failure to intervene with criminals is only worsened when they zip about in police cars adorned in pride colours to investigate people for the grave offence of tweeting a poem, as was the troubling case experienced by Harry Miller. These nefarious interventions are downstream of a broader infrastructural reference to progressive causes. There are well over 200 staff networks. 200 staff networks. My God, there shouldn't be one. In the police, 200 staff networks in the police, created by people who select according to personal characteristics such as ethnicity or religion. Leading examples include the National Black Police Association and the National Association of Muslim Police. These groups are expanding, with Policy Exchange finding an 83% growth of national staff networks since the start of the last decade. The think tank claimed that the sectarian lobbying by some networks was contrary to enabling forces to achieve their core mission. I would say that staff networks are directly in conflict with the public sector equality duty to ensure equality of opportunity and make sure that equality of opportunity is kept out. I would say that that's what it is. But again, we no teeth. We need teeth to do this. Come on, set up a group, give them some power. Let's get at them. Right? Now, this is hardly right. So it's affecting the core mission of the police, and this is hardly a surprise. When people gather according to self-selecting identity characteristics, it is inevitable that they will compete with other groups for resources, attention and political achievements. Their lobbying will often fall into politically contentious issues. The National Association, the NAPM, the National Association of Muslim Police, for example, have recently called for the terms Islamist and Jihadist to be dropped from counter-terrorism policing. Elsewhere, they have campaigned against Prevent, the government's counter-extremism duty, arguing that Muslims are disproportionately targeted. This is where you go. So what they do is, I mean, it's not just happening in the police. This is a tactic. That's what it is. You've got to see it as a tactic. So they'll set up an affinity group, and then they'll make the affinity group the oppressed, and then they'll make the organisation the affinity groups work for the oppressor. Then they'll set up a Cartman drama. Then they'll bring about the structural sort of decay of the internal organisation, of the organisation's internal cohesion. And then once they've done that, they'll lay waste to it and then talk about building something else. It's what they do. Power and oppression narratives, victimhood mentality, all of it leads to violence of one kind or another. Every single damn time. Victimhood mentality, right? Victimhood status, which victimhood movements always get taken over. Sam Venkin says by psychopaths, and I think he's totally right. There should not be an affinity group of any kind, in any organisation across the country. Not one. Now, if you want to have a crochet circle, right, so you don't have it around, go and have a crochet circle, right? But it doesn't have to be a black crochet circle or a gay crochet circle or a female. Just have a crochet circle, right? Because people can talk about crochet, gardening, you know what I mean? Cooking, gaming, whatever. Set it up. Right, that you could have. Oh, why don't we? But it's got nothing to do with the business. It's got nothing to do with the organisation. These organisations need to start getting rid of everything extraneous. And when I say that, I mean the police need to get rid of all this crap. That's got to go, right? Any counselling service or anything like that should be handled by the NHS. I do this for universities, do it for schools, do it, get it gone, right? Educators educate, the police, and the medical establishment looks after everything else. Right? That's it. We need to start separating these things out from these organisations because it is not their job. It is not their job. It is not their job to provide counselling. It is not their job to be wibbling around various groups. It is not their job to be looking after the well-being of their staff. It is their job to provide somewhere that can. Oh, look, there's the NHS. Go see your doctor. We need to start pulling apart and getting these institutions that are so vital to us as a country. Education, policing, the NHS, right? Do what you're there to do. Everything extraneous goes. Everything extraneous should be provided by somebody else who's not attached to you, who has nothing to do with you, so that these people cannot set up these ridiculous groups and then moan about the fact that they're oppressed and they need a quiet room where somebody strokes their bum piece for an hour with a feather. No, we're having none of it. Go well,